3 seconds.
Photography.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Detonation. It's really good because it's Sunday. What do we do on Sundays, John? We talk about art. I love it. Thank you so much for coming back on.
No worries. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it was a good show last time too. We always have a good show, so it's really good, and we've got a cracker of a show this week. Talking about really digging deep into your expertise, your subject area, which is photographs. So that's really nice. Last time we did the 3D experience. The lady, she was painting on the 3D digital artwork, and that was very exciting. Some beautiful stuff being choreographed there, being drawn out of the ether. So that was very good, and people can go back and watch that if they want. But this week we're doing photos, and you're an expert at photos. You got a degree from ANU at photos, and photos. What's so special about photography? Because there's just something absolutely so special. What draws you to photography?
It's about like you get to capture the most famous moment in time, and it's like it's because we live through time, experience time, and like being able to have this tool to capture a moment and to able to relive it and then see it that exact moment, and that's why it's probably drew me into the photography.
Yeah. We as humans experience a linear progression of time, even though we live on a funny exponential curve. But we experience a linear projection, and then you can snap that photo. It's interesting. Video for me is also fascinating. I was watching last night on this channel called Weird History, and it was New York in 1911. And wow, what a cool place. But being in video, black and white, I get to see the city and hustle and bustle, and it really brought you there. But photos can capture the same spirit of the imagination. We've got Morgan Monroe there in for the Unshackled. He's doing work, and he's capturing excellent photos of the ongoing protests in Hong Kong, which we'll go on about soon. We'll go on about more about Hong Kong and the pressures that they face. But photos really can change history. And speaking of history, they don't change history, but they make history. So, John, what have you got lined up for us today? Just give us a sneak preview at the three shots that you've picked out as something incredibly important to talk to the audience about today.
So the three photos that I picked out, like the one that make history, change history, and it's one of them is the very first ever photo from Joseph Nietzsche, and the second one is the very first high-speed photography, which we see these days, and the third one is the most famous controversial photo of all time, the Tankman from 1989 protest.
Why did you pick these three photos? Why what signaled what inspired you? What led you? What what information and knowledge do you have that led you to pick these three photos in particular?
Well, because I picked these out because we're gonna talk about photo, and none other than starting with the very first photo that ever taken, and explain to the audience that the start of the medium, and I thought it makes sense to tell the audience to start with how the medium kicked off, and how it started, and how how it advanced to this day.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to show those photos in a second. Is there anything else you would like to tell the audience before we launch into an explanation of those photos?
So strap in because we're gonna get historical and technical. So
I like that. And remember, people, if you utilize this information, you can make a lot of money. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in this industry, in the art industry, as the world gets more advanced and becomes less work because of AI algorithms and other things.
yeah, sure. It's because it's because of photography is you become either a winner or a loser. That's it. There's like nowhere in between. So
Yeah, so you have to listen to this information, utilize this information if you want to compete in the modern economy. And John's telling you how to do it. He's telling you how to do it. So we thank you for that. And if no, so all right. So let's bound into this first photo. So this is the first ever photo ever taken. John, take it away.
yeah, no, right. So this is the very first photo, the first ever photographic image was taken by none other than Joseph Nietzsche. It was taken in during 1826. 27 is debatable, using a technique called heliography, which is sun writing. It's come from the Greek word helios, mean drawing with the sun. Joseph Nietzsche was born in 1765. He was a inventor, a scientist, and an artist. In his early life, he served in the French military army and as a staff officer and an administrator of the district of Nice in France. He retired from the military and as an administrator in around 1795 to lend a hand in research in internal combustion engine with his brother Claude. In 1807, the brothers they invented the internal combustion engine called Pyrola 4, which runs on powder fuel. Claude left for Paris to London to promote their invention and to generate income from the success. However, Joseph stayed behind. Uh, During that time in Paris, lithography was trending, and it's a form of printing. Uh, though he was not trained in the arts, his son Isidore creates the engraving for lithography, and he places the engraving on plate coated with light-sensitive chemicals. He varnished them and he exposed them to the sunlight, which he called this process heliography. Um, in 1816 was when Joseph made the first ever attempt at taking a photo from his workroom, looking down at the courtyard at his family estate. By combining the two techniques from the 17th century camera obscura, as I mentioned, the very first video of Art Sundays, and which camera obscura of projected pictures onto paper, and 18th century silver salt, which darkens when exposed to sunlight. Unfortunately, it was unsuccessful due to the image faded a short time after it was taken. But finally, between 1826 and 27, he made the first ever photo that stayed permanent by coating with a pewter plate with the same solution from his previous experiment. Loaded the plate into the camera obscura, aiming down the from upstairs window of his house at La Grasse, as you see now on the screen. Uh, well, this photo was made using a technique called heliography. Heliography has two meanings, depending on the context. One meaning is a photo process which Nietzsche used, and the other meaning is a long distance signaling used by the military. The one with the sun and the mirror. And
Hmm.
and the heliography, it is a process when you use a bitumen of Judea, a naturally occurring asphalt, coated on a glass or a sheet metal. When exposed to sunlight, it hardens, and after the exposure, the plate is to be washed in a lavender oil, and after washing, only harden the area of the plate remains. As you can see, the photo look gritty. It's raw, due to early stage of chemical process, and you can make out the middle. You can make out the courtyard. It's a good framing because maybe you can see the rooftop of the building, and it's between the two walls on each side. Uh, it is a greatly centered and leveled photo because in the background you can see it, you can make out the horizon line, and it is nearly equally parted from the upper and the bottom of the photo. When you focus on the photo, you can see that like both side of the wall is being lit.
Mm.
Because like if we can take a photo right now at this time, and if you take it, like only one side of the wall is lit because of because like we have the technology so advanced, but it's really because it's been exposed for like eight hours long, so you can see the journey that the sun took from east to west, like in the photo. That is why, like, because of 8 hour long and it's been exposed, so you can see that, and it's really
Wow.
iconic. I really think that it's an iconic photo because it's laid the foundation of the photography as a medium, and it marks the beginning of the photography, and as I've mentioned in the earlier, like it kickstarted the photography as a medium.
Well, so that's fascinating. So it actually takes what? Like it actually took so long that you
Yeah,
can.
it's take he exposed it for 8 hours, and that's why like on the wall you can see that both of them are lit. So
Ah, I
yeah,
understand. Yeah. So
yeah,
because otherwise,
that's
otherwise that'd have to be artificial lighting, which obviously
yeah,
wasn't really happening at that time.
yeah, because it's like it's the chemical process, and like the early stage is like you have to expose for a really long time. Yeah, that's why. Because it's like now we have like digital cameras and stuff, and then we can adjust the lighting and the shutter speeds, and then we can just capture it. But back then, it was just like hardcore. So
Wow, that's fascinating. So this is how old is this? This is 1800 something, right?
yeah, from 19th century.
Wow, and so this is he's French. Is he a
French.
French camera?
He's a French person,
Yep.
and yeah, he was using a camera obscura, which is it's like a little tiny hole in the box which project the um the outside world.
That is absolutely fascinating. So thank you so much for showing us that. That's incredible. I'll just make that a little larger so people can see. But there you go, people. So
Yeah, you can see like a roof in the middle, and then you can see on the left, like, it's like the wall is lit, and then on the right as well, the wall is lit.
absolutely. Wow. Yeah, because like it didn't take long. It didn't take long for them. You mentioned something about the military. What was that all about? The same techniques as they used in the military?
Oh no, it's the heliography is the military uses it for to signaling. So you just need the sun, and you need the mirror, and then you can just reflect it off, and then you can
Sort
see
of like
like
a Morse code.
yeah, like a Morse code and
Hmm.
signaling. It depending on the context that we're speaking, because like we're speaking as a photography, so it's a chemical process.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're speaking in military, like anything that's involved military, and say someone say heliography, it's when it's kind of like a Morse code, and
Wow.
like
Very.
yeah, signaling to like, oh yeah, don't come, or like just there's ambush ahead, or like.
Because it wasn't very long until the military adopted photography for military purposes. I remember like during World War I, even they had spy planes that flew over and took photos of trenches, for example,
Yes.
or hot air balloons that took photos of trenches or enemy positions. So
I think even pigeons were got strapped to a camera, and then yeah.
wow, oh
I
there you
think
go.
yeah.
So yeah,
I
these
might
have
I might
these
have to
have
do some like research on it, but like yeah, I heard like there's pigeons that are being strapped, or the camera strapped to a pigeon, and then they just yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So that's it. So that's the first ever photo. Thanks so much for showing us that, John. It's a courtyard with some walls, a very castle in France, in somewhere.
Yeah, La Grasse.
La Grasse. Thank you
Yeah,
very
it's
much.
if I apologize if I pronounce it wrongly, but
Ah, we don't know any. It's all good, John. All right, so that's the first one. So why is that photo significant? Apart from being the first Is there anything else significant apart from it being the first?
It's how photography come about, and it's also it's the very first photography photo, and it's how it kicked off the medium as a photography.
All right, thanks, John. So you chose another photo.
I sure
What's
did.
this photo all about, John?
So this photo is as well the very first. It is a high speed photo. So it's so let me go to the story for a while. So when
All right,
you
I'll show the
yeah
people the photo then. What
so
made you what made you chose this photo, by the way?
so well it's because it's like when you like so whenever you go to like a music festivals or like a nightclub or the music start building and the building up the momentum, dragging you along with it. Everything around you is getting faster and faster, and it's harder to comprehend what is happening. Then the beat drops and the disc jockey DJ fired up his strobe lights, and then which with each flash of the strobe light revealed this beautiful and surreal moment, like what used to be a fast-paced environment and now is totally different world, frozen in time for a split second. With that split second, you can experience the world in totally different perspective. A moment frozen in time. Of course, you can only experience it for only a split second because, well, we as human being, we live in time, so um, and to be able to capture that moment and frozen in time, we can do that now, but back then it's really hard to capture the high speed moment, and you can without having like this bulky and chunky equipment. So a professor at MIT, Harold Edgerton, the son of Mary Natiko and Frank Eugene Edgerton, the direct descendant of Richard Edgerton, in 1925 he attained a bachelor degree in electrical engineering from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, where he became a member of Acacia fraternity. Um, I hope I hope I pronounced it right. At MIT, he and his colleagues were studying the synchronous motors for their science thesis at the electrical engineering at MIT. They want to see how the machines operate and how the motor runs, so they can identify the fault and they can run a diagnostic. For that, they need to take a photo of the machine and motors so that they can study. But back then, like there aren't any cameras that capable of taking pictures that like high speed. So Harold he's started experimenting with strobe lights and a bulb full of inert gas and initially mercury. The strobe is connected to the battery, and the current from the battery ignite uh, the gas molecules, which causes the instant bright light. The time of flash can easily adjustable, and because of the battery, the flash could recharge and can be discharged again. The professor called it a stroboscope. He could discharge a flash which lasted only for 10th microsecond, which is around 1 over 100,000th of a second, and he switched mercury gas with a xenon so that he can make a bulb smaller, more portable, and it meant that he can take a picture of fired bullets, frozen in time, and a rapidly vibrating hummingbird wing.
So this
As
is
you
the.
can
Oh, sorry.
as you can see in the screen right there, for the experiment, he combined his invention and the camera shutter. He was able to capture the moment that too fast for the naked eye to see. He started taking pictures of everyday item, and the one that the one that you see before is the result of his experiment. In the photo, you can see that the impact of the milk drop, creating a ring of liquid blossoming out to the camera for only a millisecond. This picture is the evidence that the photography could help move forward the understanding of the physical world and laid the foundation of the genre high-speed photography. And our modern flash and also the representation of photography's ability to make art out of a fact, scientific facts, shows one of the version of the milk drop has been shown in MoMA, first ever photography exhibition in 1937. So if you're using a flash to capture your magical nightlife or like want to experience a frozen, surreal moment in time, you know, just thanks to this guy, because of this guy, you can actually like experience, like really fast moment that like our human naked eye can't see.
Wow.
For example, like a balloon bursting, or like
Yeah, thanks, Professor Harold Edgerton or something. I remember seeing a Nat Geo documentary when I was growing up, and it was fascinating because it was exactly kind of what you're pointing out here. It had like water balloons, and I guess nowadays it's like on YouTube, the slow-mo guys or something like that. But
he's I think he also invented like a film, like a slow-mo film. It's like kind of like 35 mil, so with the strobe light, so he can actually like see it and analyze it, and then become.
So is this camera here? Is this taking a ton of photos, like or is it taking just one photo and that's what we're left with?
Oh, like he got so many versions of that.
That photo.
Perfecting that.
Going all the way down like that, watching that drop go.
Yeah.
Okay, because without this, yeah, your modern camera, I mean, it's mechanical, it's digital now, but this brings.
Right. Nowadays, you can just like time it. You can just like set it up, your camera, your flash, and then let it drop, and then take a picture. Done. Back then, like you have to take like several times.
That's amazing. That's amazing, John. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's why it's like it laid the foundation of like high speed photography.
And what was his incentive? He's just a professor at a uni, right? He wasn't.
He was a professor at the MIT. He's an electrical engineering. He and his colleague were want to study like a motor and like a synchronous of the like engine and stuff. It's like I actually experienced it like first hand, because like I was back in the college. I was doing a work experience as a mechanic, and we were trying to figure out a timing belt, and one of the mechanic uses a strobe light. So every time we set a time, let's say for example like 60th of a time, like like that, and then like there's a label on that belt which is like every time the flash it comes up, and then flash comes up, and it kind of like it throws the it's to see that like the engine is running on the correct sequence.
Oh, that's fascinating. So that's another first. So we had the first ever photo. Now you've shown us the first ever high speed photo. What made you pick the upcoming photo? What stimulated you to choose the next photo that we were going to see and you're going to tell the audience about? Why did you pick that?
I picked that because it's like a lot of stuff happening in Hong Kong, and it also is a bit controversial, so I thought it makes sense to show the audience.
Okay, so it's a newsworthy item that you wanted to show the audience. Do you think that this was taken with a high speed camera, by the way? Just from what you were, what type of camera do you think this was taken with?
I think it's a 35 mil. I think.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, let's launch into it, because I'd like to for the people to see it and you explain to them. So it's a newsworthy photo. Let's hit the ground.
Alright, so about 30 years ago, one man alone stood against not just one, but 4 tanks lined up in a single file. On April 18th, 1989, Tiananmen Square, to mourn the death of communist leader Hu Yongbang and demand a democratic government. He was working towards making China a more acceptable to other political systems, and people use him as a symbol of democratic reform. Over a week later, people count grew to 1.2 million to protest the China's communist rulers. During that time, Goddess of Democracy was built, facing against China, Chairman Mao's portrait. On June 4th, on June 4th, 1989, the military started firing into the crowd of protesters. During that time, the photojournalist Jeff Widener was covering the whole thing. He and his colleague, they were there, and he and his colleague drew straws to and then he drew the short straw, and then he descended into the scene of chaos with a camera and a bicycle. It was chaotic, burnt vehicles at every corner, and people screaming, students taking guns off dead soldiers. So as he was about to take a photo, he got struck by a lump of concrete. Even though he was struck, he kept taking pictures of like what was unfolding in front of him. But when he decided enough is enough, he picked up a bicycle, rode back to his office, Beijing hotel. Fearing he might get grabbed by the Chinese secret police, he managed to hail a random American exchange student, pretending to be associated, and persuade him to sneak him into the hotel and to the room where he took that iconic photo. So it was really lucky he took that photo, because it was never gonna happen, because it's like with this like bloody situation from the concrete being struck in the head. Also, he was suffering from a flu. About June 5th, 1989, he was woken up by a sound of tanks rolling in. He went out to take a photo of the tank, but the man in the white shirt and black trousers came into his frame and messes with his composition, so he thought. A man stood against 4 tanks with his shopping bag, facing the tank without caring for his own safety. He blocked the way so that the tank weren't able to move forward. The tanks held their fire, tried to move around the man, but no success. Both looking for both the exchange student and photographer, looking from the balcony. Then exchange student shouted, "They're going to kill him." It was when he took the photo, and it became the iconic photo that we know today. Jeff captured the moment that symbolizes and represents a resistance. He was just a man like you and I, nothing but a shirt and a pants and just a shopping bag, stepping in front of the war machine, refused to move until he gets his answers. It also shows the vulnerability of a man, bravery for the love of his country. He's willing to lay down his life for the better life and the better political system. By looking at, wants to know, to get the answers like, why are you here? Like, what are you doing here? Eventually, he was taken away. To this day, we do not know the identity of the man, what happened to him, or whether he is alive or not.
That's awesome, John. I love the way you put that. The man against the system, the man against the machine. Because it's true that this was such a profound moment in history. I'd like to remind our audience that Morgan Monroe at the Unshackled is actually there taking photos like this. Standing up to communism, standing up to tyranny, standing up to misjustice and abuses of justice. So thank you, Morgan Monroe, and he's taking photos that are equally as valuable. But yeah, no, this is I'm glad you threw this one into the mix, John, because I until you mentioned it, I actually never noticed the shopping bag, because I've always been so fixated on the white of his shirt has always stood out to me, and it seems it's quite a contrast against all the other colors there in that picture, but the tanks really dominate. They really dominate the photo. But they dominate the photo in terms of the amount of size they take up, but it's not what you focus on. That's the thing. You never focus on the tanks. You always focus on the man.
The man, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's always happened with me. You always
Yeah,
focus on
well,
the man.
like, well, you can take this photo like you could, like further down the rabbit hole because it's like the man is just wearing a black and white, a black and white t-shirt and a pants, right? And then he want like clear answers. He want black and white. Why are you here and why are you doing this?
Hmm.
Right? And then you can see the tanks is like a bunch of colors like showing just like uncertainty of like what they're doing and stuff. So it symbolizes it's like there's a man like a man facing a death machine. And it's like black and white.
In the modern context, this is the CCP versus Hong Kong. The Hong Kong is the man in the black and white, and the CCP is on the border. They want to go to war with these guys, and the little Hong Kong is standing in the road, so no, it's newsworthy. It's a great photo. There was a video of it as well, right? I've seen the video. They do a bit of a dance, and he climbs up on top of it.
The man actually climbed up to the lead tank to speak to the commander,
Hmm.
but he was taken away and never to be heard from him again.
Yeah, that's very brave.
And just look at the photo because it's really well composed, and it's really like look at the lines. It's so straight. It's like the lines are leading lines, and then the tanks as well. It's like the lines are straight. Everything is like straight. Like really like just it's really how do I say? It's like restricted, like really straight, can't move.
Yeah, very military uniform,
Yes.
rigid and conforming compared to the man. He's slightly off center a little bit. He's in black and white. His shirt's not tucked in, I don't think. Or maybe it is, but it's hard to tell. It doesn't matter, And he's got a shopping bag. He's just on his way back, and he goes,
Yeah,
"Hey,
he's a
I don't want to see
normal guy,
injustice."
just like you and I.
Absolutely. Oh well, thank you very much, John, for that. And these photos have been really good. I know what I'm going to call the episode now. The 3 photos to change your life, or something like that. But thank you so much for coming on another episode of Detonation. Is there anything you want to say before we kick off air?
I just hope that the audience enjoyed it and get knowledge out of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's not enough focus on photography and movies and things in the alternate sphere, and you bring that information and that depth of knowledge to the audience, and so thank you so much for all your hard work. You've done great work on the Brexit stuff. You've done great work in general, and now you've brought us through 3 iconic images from an art expert, a photography expert, with a lot of information jam-packed in there into the technology, into the motivations, into the people, and you did some additional research into the political the political agenda of those other ones we were talking about. So you've done so much work, John. I want to thank you so much.
Like the 3 photos, one kicked off the medium, the second one kicked off the genre of photography, and the third one shows a literal representation of resilient, resistant bravery and vulnerability.
Absolutely, yeah. The impact of photos is enormous, and we can't underestimate it. And if you want to compete in the modern economy, you have to learn how photos work. So thank you so much, John. Absolute pleasure coming on and telling us all this sacred knowledge.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you, John.